All right, everybody, welcome back. We are about to start the review for Queen of Shadows. Before I get into it, I'd like to thank you all so much for tuning in and commenting and liking and subscribing. It means a lot. I love how the channel's going. We're starting to build some traction. We're, I think, 60 subscribers now, which is awesome. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm super pumped about it. Uh, that being said, I will hop right into this. Like I said, this is Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. And this one starts off exactly where the last one left. So Aelin arrives in Rifthold and is now kind of going back to using the surname of Selena because she's like in her assassin's world. So when she gets there, she finds out that Kel is just as big a crap as we thought he was. That he's a traitor to the crown, that he ran like a baby, that Dorian's been captured and made a slave, that her cousin Adon is trapped in a cell. Kel starts treating her like trash and talking crap to her, and just, dude, he is the worst character in these books. I do not like him one bit. So he's busy like belittling her, and she's just trying to get a feel for things. She runs into an old time rival, Lysandra, and Lysandra kind of pulls her aside and is like, "Look, uh, a Robin, who is her old master, is going to try and get you to like team up with him, and I want you to know everything." So she hands her a letter from one of the bodyguards who we learned about in a previous book. Uh, and it basically says that a Robin, who she kind of knew all this, but now it's confirmed. It says that a Robin is responsible for Sam's death, that a Robin is the one who had him tortured, that he's the one that sent her to Endovier to be tortured, that he could have saved her and didn't. It basically says everything she had kind of assumed, but now it's like set. At first, she doesn't trust Lysandra, which is, I mean, it makes sense. Lysandra's had to put on this facade for so many years, but they kind of start this little like girly friendship, and she starts to trust her more and more and finds out that Lysandra had good reasons for the things she was doing. While this is going on, Kel is working with the rebels to go down into the sewers and help anybody with magic is being stolen by the king right now, and is being forced to like uh, have demons put inside of them, is what we find out. But he doesn't know that. He just knows they're being sent off to Morath, which is where Duke Parrington is, and all the witches and dragons and all the crazy crap is like way over there. But anyways, he's running these like interferences, saving rebels and civilians and getting them out. While that is going on, Rowan disobeys Selena and shows up, which is, he's awesome. I love Rowan. So he shows up in the city of Rifthold and he's like, "Look, I know I don't have my magic and my powers. I came as a warrant to give you a warning that Lorcan, who is one of the like in the last book I told you he had like a group of 5 like killers that they're like a ragtag group that work together or work for Maeve, has come to the city to, he's assuming, kill Aelin for Maeve for releasing Rowan. And he warns her, but then he's like, we come to find out that he's like, "Look, I love you, and I have strong feelings for you, and that's why I couldn't stay away from you anymore." He gets to the city, and he is such a bad. As soon as he meets Lysandra, he instantly smells her, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you're a shifter." So we find out that she is a shapeshifter, but because there's no magic, she couldn't do it all these years. She's just had to like hide amongst the people, which I thought was super cool. Um, Also, she plans a rescue mission for Adon. She puts together this like super elaborate badass plan to go in. She gets with the dancers she used to know and practice in their like shop. She gets with them, sneaks into the castle, uses like water here and there to wash off weird marks, sneaks in, and like long story short, she ends up saving her cousin and getting him out. He is super excited because he's free, but he gets to see his cousin who he's waited years for. But we also find out that he has been waiting his whole life to take the blood oath, which in Terrasen can only be done by one person. And we learned in the last book that Rowan did it. So there is a lot of tension in this book between her cousin and her new, I wouldn't call him boyfriend, her new Fey lover, or whatever you want to call him. There is no spice in this. Like it's got romance, but there is no. So I wouldn't say like her lover, more like her love interest. So there's a lot of tension between Rowan and Adon, and they're always bickering back and forth and trying to prove who's the alpha. Once he is released, in order to release him, Selena had to make a deal with a Robin where he would give her access, he would give her some tools, some money, and some of his men to kind of help her. And in return, she would catch one of these guards that has like a Valg or a demon prince in them and give it to him so he could torture him. While doing this, it's such an elaborate, it's hard to explain in a short little video. There is a elaborate plan they put together, they being Adon, Rowan, Selena, and Lysandra, to kind of overthrow a Roman and kill him. So they have this whole elaborate plan where Selena is going to deliver this prince to a Roman, and before she does, she talks to this demon. She finds one that has like the least hold on their like body or prey, and convinces the man that's inside that like when he's given the chance to talk to a Roman, to everything he says be a lie. She cuts off the ring controlling him and puts a fake one on, delivers it to a Roman. It tells him a bunch of lies, and Roman slips this ring on her finger thinking that he can control Selena, which is, I know she's confused. She's like a young girl. She wanted to give him one last chance not to like mess up, even though he's like tormented and tortured her and killed her lover, all this crazy stuff. And she's still, because he kind of groomed her, doesn't want to kill him. But so he fails her last test. They end up drugging him. It's very anticlimactic. So they drug him, and Lysandra slits his throat in his sleep, and he's done. This boogeyman for the last like 5 books does not get to put up much of a fight. I was super happy and excited that they killed him. I was super nervous he would find out and that it was all a trap or fake, but he's dead. And like I said, I was kind of upset that it was a little anticlimactic. It wasn't like an epic fight or anything, but I also don't know if my nerves could have handled that. So I do like the way it played out. Once he is dead, she also steals she goes to the bank and steals his will and leaves everything to herself, which is awesome. So she gets everything. She frees Lysandra, like super happy ending for her. Then they get ready for the king. So Kale, along with his rebels, have discovered these 3 towers around the realm are kind of what was used by the king to subdue and like get rid of magic. He finds this out. He finally tells Selena, look, if we blow one of these up, magic will be free and you'll be powerful again. So they put together this ragtag team with Kel, his rebels, his new girl, Nesserine, something like that. Nesserine, and Rowan, Adon, and a couple others, and they plan to attack the castle. Before this happens, they do run into Lorcan, who is apparently Rowan's equal, if not a little. He might be a little more dangerous because he's a lot more ruthless. Lorcan, it's just crazy. So Selena ends up tricking him into hunting down and killing a lot of these, like, they're these beasts that aren't quite the little demon princes. They're a little more powerful. They're like these weird, hounds. There's these big like dogs made of stone and demons. There's like 12 of them. She tricks them into hunting Lorcan, and she thinks he's killed them all, when in reality he tricked her too and just gave them Rowan scent. So they make this huge plan to like go to the castle, fight the king, while the tower is being blown up underneath by Rowan and Adon. They run into these weird hounds. It ends up being a huge epic fight. Lorcan, due to some selfish reasons, ends up showing up and helping them anyways. While this is going on, Selena and Keller up top with the king. They end up separating him from Dorian for a short period of time. While that is happening, she's trying to release him from the prince's hold. She ends up doing it. So right as the tower blows up and magic is released, she is able to get the necklace off of him. The king shows up, and Dorian just goes ham. He kills everybody dark in the castle, including his dad, the king. But before he does, we find out some crazy news. Apparently, the king of Ardalan, like the big bad guy in all 5 books, the worst dude in all the books, before he dies, tells them that he suppressed magic out of fear for Aelin and Dorian and what was going to be done to them, that he himself had a demon in him this entire time, and that Duke Barrington, who has been in Morath this whole time, is the true monster. He's the king of the demons who was released recently and has been collecting the weird stones. And the king has tricked him into thinking, allegedly, the king has tricked him into thinking he is completely consumed by this prince, but he got rid of magic to protect everyone, so the Duke couldn't take him. He's got this elaborate backstory that it does make sense, but I also don't know if it. I don't know if it redeems him. It's so hard to say, because if it was a demon doing all these things, it wasn't really his fault. But also, in the last few books, we learned from like Mort the Doorknob and Elena that the king has like always been nosy and looked into weird stones and weird keys. And I don't know, some of the dark things he did, even if they were the demon, I still think he kind of deserved to die, just because he was the big boogeyman for all of these people. Maybe he shouldn't have been so power hungry or in alliance with this demon or demon king. It's a very confusing situation. I'm not sure if they were justified in killing him or not. Regardless, they do. Aelin takes over the castle. Dorian goes into like a slumber. Aelin tells the whole town of Rifthold, like, look, if anyone revolts, I'm just going to burn you all to ashes because I have my powers back. Rowan is protecting her. And Kel, who is supposed to be dead, ends up surviving the battle, but he's paralyzed. So he ends up, I really don't care about Kel's story, but just so you know, he ends up with Nesserine, this new girl, and they talk about, I guess in the next book, they're going to travel to some healers and try and get him to walk again. Dorian makes him kind of his second in command of the entire kingdom, and Dorian is given his castle back. So it was, dude, this book was jam packed. I don't know if I said it earlier, it's a billion% a 5-star. If I could give it 6 stars, I would. This is the best book. I said this about the last book being the best in the series. This one was even better than it. This is 1,000 stars. It was super good. I loved it. It was jam packed beginning to end. Something I left out too. Well, I didn't leave out. We were in Rifthold. So back to, in the last book, we talked about Manon, who is the heir to the throne of the witches, so she's the general of the 13, which is like the most badass witches, and heir to the throne of the Blackbeaks, which is like the strongest coven. So she's up there. Aside from her grandma, she's like the second strongest of all of them, and she might even be stronger. Manon, I start to dislike because her second in command, Astrid, I like a lot. She is a super cool character. She almost has a good streak in her. We find out about her past and how she was kind of tormented and ran away and fell in love with a human. So she's the first witch we're introduced to that can feel love and has felt love. And I like her a lot. Manon treats her like dirt in this one for like the first half. So I started disliking her. But then Astrid finally like gets her away, secluded. It tells her her backstory. She's like, "Look, I don't care what you think of me. This is what's happened to me. This is why I am the way that I am." Uh, and Abraxas, her dragon, starts having a good streak too. So Manon kind of starts getting her shit together, kind of. She has a run in with Aelin, and Aelin saves her life. She owes her a life debt, and another amazing. That's what I'm saying. This book is just jam packed. So that's another badass fight. It was incredible. But her saving Manon's life, Manon's like, wow, maybe I don't have to be evil. It's kind of like her perspective on life now. Uh, in the castle with the witches, where they're kind of getting their dragons and training, Duke Parrington at this time starts taking witches and making them give birth to demons. A lot of the witches below her, like Astrid, are very upset that this is happening. Manon keeps reaching out to her grandma, and she's like, "Look, this is what's going on." Her grandma's like, "Look, just do what you're told." And so Manon's like, maybe I have been wrong all these years because we shouldn't be just giving our witches away. And all this like demonic stuff's happening in this castle, and it's so much going on. So at the same time, we are introduced to Alide, and she is so. When Selena was young, uh, there was a woman that saved her life. That woman gave birth to Alide. So that is who Alide is. Her mom died saving Selena's life. So she feels that she like owes something to Selena, like she should be in her court. That's all we know of her. We know that she's a cripple. She's limping through this castle. She's being tortured. Her uncle is sick. And you feel bad for her like this whole book. And at one point, Manon grabs her and is like, "Look, I think you have witch's blood in you. You're under my control now," and starts like taking care of her. At one point, the witches have to leave the castle, and when she gets back, she finds out that the uncle has been doing things to Alide, and that he's got her locked in a dungeon, and he's about to like make her give birth to one of these demons, and it's the final straw. Manon and her 13 go crazy in here. They kill everyone. Uh, Sidebar: Caltaine. You haven't heard that name in a couple books. Is in this castle also. Duke Parrington has brought her in and given her this dark black fire that's like super powerful. She's been in there being tortured all this time. So when Manon gets all the way down to Alide and is rescuing her, she runs into Caltaine, and Caltaine's like, "Look, I have been tortured forever. I feel that magic has been released now. I want to dress up like Alide, go in there. I'm going to kill everyone and y'all escape." And that's kind of what happens. Caltaine kills herself to wipe out a third of this whole castle. The witches get on their dragons. They go fly, take off, and drop Alide off in the woods and tell her, "Look, you're on your own. Go ahead." Yeah. Caltaine gives her a weird key. I'm assuming it's a weird key, and says, "Give this to Selena Serdothian or Aelin." And they drop her off, and they're like, "Look, go find Aelin. Here's your chance." Us witches have to kind of go do what my grandma says. And that's where we're left with that. So yeah, that's kind of how this book ends. I know it seems rushed, but I mean, there's so much in this book. You really have to read it. In order to give a in-depth overview of the entire book would take hours. From what I have told you, those are kind of like the highlights. I cannot say enough how good this book is. It is phenomenal. Probably one of the best books I've ever read. Yeah, I hope I did this book justice. I hope that all of you are enjoying the videos, and I'm excited. So for the next two books, I'm going to be doing the tandem read. My wife took the time to read them both and go through and do all the annotating for me, so I don't have to like do it. So yeah, this next review will be two books, but it'll be tandem read, so it might take me a little longer. I'll try and push out maybe a book in between if I have to. Either way, thank you for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions. I hope that you continue to watch. Give me your feedback, and all have a wonderful week.